Young Turks, new sponsor, Squarespace. Go. Squarespace. Wait, is that a square? Today, Operation Payback was launched. This is by a group called Anonymous, and they are striking back on behalf of WikiLeaks. So MasterCard said that they will not accept payments for WikiLeaks anymore. MasterCard was hacked and for a while shut down. And they're apparently back up and running, and those battles continue. Also attacked were Swedish prosecutors, a Swedish defense lawyer, and a Swiss group that froze Assange's bank account. So Anonymous has struck back at all these people, and they are saying that they might do more, including attacks on Twitter, because they have this theory on Twitter. I don't know if it's true or not, about how Twitter is keeping down trending topics related to WikiLeaks. I have no idea if it's true, and we'll see what happens with that. Now, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Look, Anonymous has struck against a lot of people. I like it when they go after the powerful and not the powerless. Sometimes, you see somebody attacked and you think, God, that person doesn't have much of a way to defend themselves, right? Here, they're going after the most powerful companies and institutions in the world, and they're doing it on behalf of openness and transparency and journalism. Let me tell you something. It's interesting because it provides a counterbalance we did not have before. The government would threaten a company like MasterCard and say, hey, if you don't play ball, it's going to have severe financial consequences for you. You better shut down anything that the government opposes. Now, that's a heavy hand. And unfortunately, people didn't have any way to fight back. Well, now there's a way to fight back. Before, the government would do all these things in secrecy. 15,000 extra civilians killed in Iraq, and we didn't even know about it. One of hundreds of things revealed by WikiLeaks. Journalists killed in that footage that we saw in Iraq, where the helicopter shoots down innocent journalists and mows them down. All that stuff we didn't know, and we didn't have a way of knowing. Now we do. Now, part of the reason that we didn't have a way of knowing before is of the grotesque failure of the media in America. And of course, since they are shamed by that failure, and since they are part of this establishment, the media does not have Julian Assange's back. They are against Julian Assange. There are numerous cases of writers writing saying, hey, if this guy has blood on his hands. I'm not even talking about the Fox News guys who call him a terrorist and say that he should be executed. I'm talking about mainstream journalists who say, oh no, if any one of our sources ever gets hurt, by the way, they have never provided a single shred of evidence that anyone has ever gotten hurt off of the WikiLeaks, the information we found out for them. They say, but if that ever happens, which it has not, well, then he's got blood on his hands and he should be tried and prosecuted, et cetera, et cetera. Now, one of the things we found out in WikiLeaks was that journalists were murdered by our government, but nary a peep from our mainstream media. We found out we killed an extra 15,000 civilians, but nary a peep. No. We launched the Iraq war. At the bare minimum, 66,000 innocent civilians died. But no, that's okay. And they're allowed to cover that up, and that's no problem at all. But if anybody ever were to get hurt by something we found out because we actually exposed the lies of the government, well, then the media would be against it. The whole point of the media is to challenge the government. It's to show what the government is doing. Well, that was the point of the media. Now the point of the media is to cover up for the government. So when Julian Assange throws their Apple cart over, turns it over, well, they're very, very upset. They don't like that. That's someone practicing true journalism. Remember, Assange didn't do the leak. He's a journalist who received the leak and then published it, what journalists have done for time immemorial. But now none of the other journalists have his back. Well, I'm not for that. I'm against that. So if there's a little Operation Payback, well, I find that to be fascinating. And I'm here to say I'm on Julian Assange's side. Oh, and by the way, they'll throw the sex charge at him. Let me give you a little, and I saw this on Glenn Greenwald's blog. He makes a great point. He's not saying that there is a conspiracy. I'm not saying it. I'm just going to lay out the facts as he explained, and that is true. And you lay out the conclusions. Scott Ritter said there are no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Immediately thereafter, sex charges against Scott Ritter. Elliot Spitzer went up to challenge the banks and said, hey, I'm going to stop your crime and your insider trading, etc. All of a sudden, sex charges against Elliot Spitzer coming from a bank saying, oh, he spent this much amount of money, maybe the federal authorities should look into it. Oh, will you look at that? It's for a hooker. And now, a day after Julian Assange does the first leaks here, sex charges against Julian Assange. It could all be a wonderful coincidence. Look, I'll go farther than Glenn Greenwald. Not buying it. They're not a coincidence. I don't know, that anybody hatched a plan, etc. I don't know if it's just the government encouraging these things that might not have been prosecuted before or pursued before, but all of a sudden they have a great interest in pursuing these sex charges against people who are saying, hey, this is what the government is actually doing. So I'm on the side of the guys that are for transparency. I'm on the side of the guys that are for opening up the government and finding out what our government in a democracy does in our name. So I am with Julian Assange. Should we do a Spartacus moment? I am Julian Assange. Come on, fun. New sponsor at the Young Turks, Squarespace. They help you build websites. They've got 24/7 support, and they've built some of the largest websites in the world.
They have an iPhone app, so you can edit your website on the go.
TYT promo code. 10% off for the life of your order. Squarespace.